I never thought I'd be the guy who would find out his wife was cheating on him. My name is Jake, and I'm just an average guy in my mid-30s. I've been married to Lisa for about 7 years. We met in college, fell for each other hard, and eventually tied the knot in a small ceremony that felt right for us. At least, that's how I pictured it until everything fell apart. Things had been off for a while. I could feel it in the air. Something wasn't right. Lisa started coming home late from work, and her excuses ranged from meetings that ran long to spontaneous drinks with her coworkers. I was always understanding, always supportive, but the more she changed, the more I found myself questioning what was going on. I tried to ignore the nagging feeling in my gut. We had a decent life, but the spark was dimming. About a month before I made the discovery, I noticed a change in her behavior. Lisa started dressing differently, too, more extravagant outfits and designer handbags, which were a far cry from her usual jeans and a t-shirt style. I told myself that maybe she was just trying to feel better about herself or wanted to make a statement. I supported her in whatever she wanted. What could it hurt, right? Then came that fateful night when everything unraveled. I was scrolling through my phone while I waited for her to come home from what she said was a late work event. The clock ticked past midnight and I started to worry. When she finally got home, her hair was disheveled and she reeked of expensive perfume. I tried to greet her casually, asking how her night went. But here's the thing. I noticed something on her phone, the way she was clutching it almost protectively when she walked in. It was like she was hiding it from me, and that only made my stomach drop further. I didn't think much of it at first, but when she went to the bathroom to freshen up, I took a peek at her phone while it was buzzing on the kitchen counter. What I found was devastating. Messages from a contact labeled Ryder, filled with flirtatious banter and emojis that made my heart race with anger and betrayal. I scrolled through them and saw pictures, so-called work photos of her with this guy, a fashion designer. God, the way she spoke to him was sickening. She was flirting and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was as if every betrayal I had ever heard about was happening to me in real time. When she came back, I confronted her. I felt like a volcano about to erupt. "Who is Ryder?" I snapped, barely able to keep the tremor out of my voice. To my astonishment, she looked genuinely confused at first, and then annoyance washed over her face as she scrambled for an excuse. "Jake, it's nothing. Just a colleague. We've been working on a project together," she said, her voice dripping with insincerity. I could see the gears turning in her mind as she tried to spin her web of lies. "Don't give me that. I saw the messages, Lisa. It's not just work. You're sleeping with him, aren't you?" I threw the accusation at her, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. The anger was palpable and I could feel the heat radiating from my body. Her expression changed and she was defensive. "You don't understand. It's complicated." She shouted, her tone sharp, but it wasn't complicated, it was betrayal. I was angry, hurt, and confused all at once. Her excuses fell flat, and as the realization washed over me, I knew my life was about to change forever. I spent the rest of the night in a haze, feeling as if I'd been punched in the gut. All those moments we had shared, the dreams for our future, they all felt like they had been shattered into a million pieces. The emotional impact hit me hard, and I could barely recognize the woman who had once been my wife. For the first time, I questioned everything about our relationship. How could she do this to me? How could I have been so blind? The anger and sadness morphed into a plan, a dark, twisted plan. I would show her that this wasn't just going to slide. I was going to make a change, and if she thought she could stroll over my heart without consequences, she was in for a rude awakening. I didn't realize it then, but that night would kickstart a journey of self-discovery and revenge that would transform not just how Lisa saw me, but how I saw myself. I was done being the doormat. It was time for an upgrade of my wardrobe and, more importantly, my life. The days following my confrontation with Lisa felt like a blur. I was walking around in a haze, caught between anger and heartbreak. Each day I saw her, I felt like I was living in someone else's nightmare. She was going about her life as if nothing had happened, and it made me furious. I could see her acting out the role of the devoted wife while knowing the truth that lay hidden behind her charming smile. I decided I couldn't let this go on any longer. I had to take control. I started by taking a good look at myself. Over the years, I had allowed my appearance to slip. Life had gotten comfortable, and I was okay with being the nice guy. I wore the same old jeans and t-shirts, with a few button-ups thrown in for work, but I needed a change. If she thought she could throw away our marriage for a fashion designer, I would show her that I could become someone worth taking notice of. I began with my wardrobe. After a little online research, I found a local tailor who specialized in men's fashion. I made an appointment and went in, feeling like an imposter in this world of style. The tailor was a no-nonsense guy named Marco, and he took one look at me and raised an eyebrow. "You want to upgrade? Let's start with the basics." He pulled out a few suits and shirts, and with every piece he put on me, I felt a glimmer of confidence returning. With the right clothes, I felt a shift in my demeanor. I started dressing sharply, tailored suits in shades of navy and charcoal, crisp white shirts, and even a few trendy accessories. I'd never realized how much a well-fitted outfit could change how I carried myself. The moment I stepped out of the tailor's shop, I felt different. I walked taller, shoulders back, and I was ready to take on the world, or at least confront my wife again. My transformation didn't stop at my wardrobe. I took a look at my health too. I started hitting the gym every morning before work, pushing myself harder than I ever had. The anger from the betrayal fueled me, and I felt myself getting stronger physically and mentally. I wasn't just upgrading my appearance, I was reclaiming my life. I wanted to show Lisa that I was not the same guy she had taken for granted. As I stepped into my new life, I began to see changes in how people reacted to me. My friends started noticing the transformation, and it felt good to hear compliments. "Dude, you're looking sharp." Or, "What's your secret?" It was empowering, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was in control of my destiny. Meanwhile, Lisa was still playing her role expertly. She would come home and talk about her day, her meetings, and the projects she was working on with Ryder. Each mention of that name sent a fresh wave of anger through me. I wanted to scream, to confront her about the lies, but I held back. I was waiting for the right moment, and I knew exactly what I had to do. I started gathering evidence, documenting her late nights and the little lies she told. I kept a record of her excuses and even some screenshots of messages that I had saved on my phone. I couldn't directly confront her with everything just yet. I wanted the element of surprise. I needed a plan that would not only expose her but also make her realize what she was losing. In the midst of all this, I decided to reach out to an old friend, Ryan. He had always been the wild one, the guy who had no filter and loved the single life. We hadn't talked much since college, but I needed someone who could help me break free from the emotional mess. I called him one night, and we ended up meeting for drinks. As we sat in the crowded bar, I poured out my heart. I told him everything about Lisa, the betrayal, and my plan for revenge. Ryan listened intently, nodding his head in understanding. "Man, you deserve better than this. You're going to show her what she's missing," he said, raising his glass in a toast. The more we talked, the more I felt empowered. I wasn't going to be a victim anymore. I was taking charge of my life, and I was going to become the best version of myself, not just for Lisa, but for me. With newfound determination, I began to set my plan in motion. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to unveil my transformation in a way she'd never expect. I would shine so brightly that she'd have no choice but to see the man she had almost lost. I was ready to make my move, and I could feel the excitement bubbling within me. Little did I know that the execution of my plan would take an unexpected turn, pushing me further into a world of intrigue and confrontation that I could never have anticipated. As I embarked on this journey of transformation, I made sure to keep my distance from Lisa emotionally. I had learned to play the part of the dutiful husband while secretly building my new identity. It felt surreal, like I was living in two separate worlds, one where I was the oblivious husband and another where I was reclaiming my life piece by piece. It was time to up the ante. I knew that if I wanted to really hit Lisa where it hurt, I needed to create a situation that would force her to confront the reality of her actions. I didn't want to just catch her in a lie. I wanted her to feel the shock of losing someone she had taken for granted. One weekend, I decided to attend a local charity gala that I had read about online. It was an upscale event, and I had heard rumors that many influential people would be attending, including fashion designers and socialites. I made it my mission to not only go to this gala but to own it. I reached out to Ryan for help. He was in the know about the local scene and had contacts who could help me get in. I spent the entire week preparing for the event. I tailored a sleek black tuxedo, complete with a tailored waistcoat and a crisp bow tie. I even treated myself to a fresh haircut and a clean shave, small details that made a world of difference. I wanted people to notice the new me, and I wanted Lisa to see me in a light she'd never expected. The night of the gala arrived, and I walked into the venue with a confidence I hadn't felt in years. The place was buzzing with energy. People in elegant gowns and sharp suits mingled over champagne and hors d'oeuvres. I quickly spotted Ryan, who was already working the room, chatting up a few guests. As I joined him, I felt an exhilarating rush. I was finally stepping into the spotlight, and I was determined to make an impression. After a few drinks and some light banter, I met a woman named Jessica. She was stunning, with long auburn hair and a warm smile. We hit it off right away, and I could see the spark in her eyes. She was an aspiring fashion model, and as we talked about our lives and ambitions, I could feel my confidence soaring. It felt good to be wanted again, to be appreciated for who I was becoming. As the night wore on, I kept an eye on the entrance, waiting for Lisa to arrive. I knew she was supposed to be there. She had mentioned the gala during one of our mundane conversations. I wanted her to see me living my life, enjoying myself without her. I wanted her to feel the pang of jealousy. And then, there she was. Lisa walked in wearing a stunning red gown that hugged her figure perfectly. She looked beautiful, no doubt about it, but the moment her eyes locked onto me across the room, I could see the shock wash over her face. She was with Ryder. They walked in together, and my heart sank for just a moment before the anger ignited again. I held my composure as I watched them mingle with other guests, but I couldn't help but notice how she glided her hand over his arm, laughing as he whispered something in her ear. It was infuriating, but I reminded myself that this was all part of my plan. I decided to make my move. I approached her with Jessica on my arm, and just before I reached them, I felt a rush of adrenaline. Lisa's eyes widened in disbelief as I introduced Jessica to her. "Hey Lisa, you remember my old friend Ryan, right? This is Jessica," I said, trying to keep my tone casual. "Wow, Jake, you look incredible," she managed to say, her voice barely hiding the surprise. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, processing the sight of me with another woman, confident and charismatic. I smiled, enjoying the moment a little too much. "Thanks, Lisa. You look great too. Looks like you brought a friend," I said, nodding toward Ryder, who was casually leaning against the wall, arms crossed with a cocky smile plastered on his face. "Yeah, he's just a colleague," she shot back, the defensiveness creeping into her voice. "We've been working closely on that project I mentioned. It's been hectic." "Right, the project," I replied, feigning interest while keeping my eyes locked on hers. I could see the realization dawning on her. This wasn't the meek husband she had left at home. No, this was a man who had moved on, at least in appearance. As the night progressed, I engaged in small talk with various guests, laughing and enjoying the attention. Lisa and Ryder hovered nearby, and I could feel her eyes on me. She didn't like seeing me with Jessica, and it was exhilarating to know I was making her uncomfortable. I wanted her to realize what she was missing, a partner who could hold his own, someone who was no longer defined by her whims. After a while, Lisa approached me, her expression shifting from surprise to irritation. "Jake, can we talk?" she asked, her tone sharper than before. "Sure, just give me a second," I replied, turning back to Jessica and leaning closer as if to whisper something. I was enjoying this newfound power, watching Lisa squirm, and I wasn't about to let it go unnoticed. Once I excused myself from Jessica, I followed Lisa to a quieter corner of the venue. As soon as we were out of earshot from the crowd, she crossed her arms, her frustration palpable. "What the hell is going on? You're not the same person I left at home. What's with the sudden glow-up?" "Maybe I just realized I deserve better than being a fool," I shot back, my voice steady. You think I wouldn't notice your little affair. You think I'd just sit back and watch you play house with Ryder." Her expression shifted to one of denial. "You're just overreacting. You have no idea what you're talking about." "I think I know more than you realize, Lisa. You made your choices and now I'm making mine." Her face paled and the defensiveness melted away. For the first time she looked vulnerable, maybe even scared. "Jake, please." But I wasn't in the mood for more excuses. I had made my point and I was going to let it simmer. I walked back toward the crowd, leaving her behind, a mixture of satisfaction and anger swirling in my chest. I wanted her to feel the weight of her choices, the realization that I was moving on, and I didn't plan on looking back. As the night wrapped up, I left the gala with Ryan and Jessica, feeling victorious. I had shown Lisa that I was not the man she thought she could walk all over. This was only the beginning. I was ready to take the next step in my plan for revenge, one that would change everything. The aftermath of the gala hung in the air like a charged storm, and I could feel the tension building between Lisa and me. I had seen the look in her eyes that night. It was a mix of anger, jealousy, and perhaps a hint of regret. For the first time, I felt like I had the upper hand, and it was exhilarating. But I also knew that I needed to cement my position and make my next move. The following days were a whirlwind of emotions. Lisa tried to act normal, but I could sense the weight of her guilt. She'd ask how my day was, trying to engage in conversation, but I felt a wall between us. I kept my responses brief, maintaining a cool distance. I was no longer the husband who would let her manipulate my feelings. I was now a man on a mission. One evening, after a particularly tense day at work, I decided to put the next phase of my plan into action. I arranged to meet Ryan again, this time to discuss the logistics of a more elaborate scheme. We met at a small bar downtown, a place filled with energy but not too crowded, perfect for plotting. "All right, what's next?" Ryan asked, leaning back in his chair, a sly grin on his face. He was always ready for a bit of mischief, and I appreciated that about him. "I want to make sure Lisa knows I'm serious about moving on. I need her to realize that the life she took for granted is slipping away," I explained, feeling confident about what I was about to propose. "I'm going to start dating again, seriously. I want her to see me happy without her." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "You mean like really dating, not just casual stuff?" "Yes, I'm thinking I'll put myself out there. I want her to feel the full impact of what she's lost. I'll go on dates, maybe even show off a little on social media," I replied, a plan beginning to take shape. We spent the next hour brainstorming ideas on how to showcase my newfound confidence and independence. I didn't want to just date, I wanted to flaunt it. We talked about creating a social media presence that highlighted my transformation, posting pictures of my outings, and sharing experiences that showcased my new lifestyle. It was all about making Lisa realize she had lost something valuable. "Let's get you set up with some dating profiles," Ryan suggested, already pulling out his phone. "You need to let the world know Jake is back in the game." The next few days were a blur of excitement as I dove into the dating scene. With Ryan's help, I crafted profiles on several dating apps. I uploaded the best pictures of myself, photos showcasing my style, my new physique, and just a hint of the confidence radiating from me. I was ready to meet new people, explore new connections, and most importantly, make Lisa question her choices. Within a week, I was swiping right and engaging in conversations with women who were genuinely interested in getting to know me. I went on a few dates, and while they were all fun, it was the reactions from Lisa that fueled me. I could see the change in her demeanor at home. She was becoming more anxious, more snippy. The happiness I had found in dating was spilling over into my daily interactions, and I was enjoying every moment of it. I documented my adventures, posting subtle hints on social media about my newfound life. I shared pictures from my dates, dinner in trendy restaurants, hiking with friends, and even a few shots of me out with Jessica, who had become a good friend. It was all about showcasing my glow-up. I wanted Lisa to see what she was missing out on. One evening, as I returned home from a dinner out with a woman named Samantha, I found Lisa waiting for me in the living room. The expression on her face was a mixture of concern and something else, Was it jealousy? Jake, can we talk? You've been different. Lately, she said, her voice shaky. Different how? I asked, trying to keep my tone casual as I took off my jacket. Come on, don't play dumb. You're dadding and it's like you're living in a completely different world. She shot back, her frustration seeping through. I am living in a different world, Lisa. You were the one who decided to stray from our marriage. I'm just making the most of my life, I replied, the bitterness creeping into my voice. This is not fair. You're just trying to make me jealous. Exclaimed, desperation creeping in. Maybe I am. I leaned into the moment, enjoying the tension. But you have to realize that I'm not the same guy you thought you could walk all over. You've made your choices and now I'm making mine. You want to play games, here we are. Her eyes narrowed and I could see the realization settling in for her. She had underestimated my resolve. You think this will make me want you back? You think I care about your little antics? Honestly, I don't care what you think. What matters is that I'm moving on. And you can either catch up or stay stuck in your own mess. I shot back, feeling a surge of empowerment. The conversation ended with tension in the air. I could see her reeling and it filled me with a sense of satisfaction. I was not going to back down. I could feel my resolve strengthening with each confrontation, and I knew that I was on the right path. As time went on, I kept seeing other women and enjoying life. My social media began to fill with pictures of me in trendy places, laughing with new friends, and embracing the freedom I had gained. Each post was like a dagger to Lisa's heart, and with every like and comment from my growing circle, I felt a sense of triumph. But amidst all the excitement, I also felt something deeper brewing inside, a mix of emotions I hadn't anticipated. There were moments when I would reflect on the good times Lisa and I had shared, and for a fleeting second, I would miss the bond we once had. It was confusing, but I pushed those thoughts aside. I had a mission to complete, and I was determined to see it through, to show her, once and for all, that I was worth fighting for. But little did I know that Lisa was not just going to sit back and let this happen. She had her own plans brewing, and the next chapter in our saga was about to come crashing down like a tidal wave. As I immersed myself deeper into this new chapter of my life, the thrill of independence began to feel intoxicating. I finally felt like I was the man I was always meant to be: confident, stylish, and in control. I continued to date, enjoying the company of new people and the freedom of being single. But I was also keenly aware that my actions were not going unnoticed by Lisa. Her frustration was starting to bubble over, and I knew she wouldn't take my transformation lying down. One evening, after a particularly fun night out with Samantha, a woman I had begun to see regularly, Lisa confronted me again. This time, her approach was different. She wasn't angry, she seemed almost desperate. "Jake, can we talk?" she asked, her voice softening. It was a stark contrast to the heated arguments we'd had previously. I was taken aback by her tone. "Sure, Lisa, what's on your mind?" I replied cautiously, sensing the tension in the air. "I've been thinking, maybe we've both made mistakes. I've missed us," she admitted, her eyes searching mine for some sign of understanding. "I didn't mean for things to go this far, and I realize now what I've lost." My heart raced, but I forced myself to remain composed. "You mean Ryder?" I replied, a hint of sarcasm creeping into my voice. "You think I'm going to forget how you hurt me?" "It's not like that. Yes, I was wrong and I don't want to lose you. I want to make this work," she insisted, her expression earnest. "Lisa, you don't get to determine the terms now. You made your choices and I'm not going to go back to being the guy you think you can manipulate," I said firmly. She looked visibly shaken, and for a moment I felt a twinge of sympathy. I remembered the good times we had together, but I quickly brushed those feelings aside. This was about me reclaiming my life, and I wasn't ready to let her back in just yet. "I'm dadding, I'm happy. You had your chance. If you wanted to keep our marriage, you shouldn't have strayed," I reminded her. Lisa's face fell, and I could see the tears welling in her eyes. "I can fix this, Jake. Just give me a chance to show you," she pleaded, reaching out to touch my arm. I pulled away, shaking my head. "I don't know if I can trust you again. I need to focus on myself for now. Maybe you should think about what you really want." The conversation ended without resolution, and I walked away feeling conflicted. On one hand, I was enjoying my new life, but on the other, I couldn't shake off the weight of her words. Was I being too harsh? Did she genuinely want to change, or was this just another ploy to regain control over me? Days turned into weeks, and I continued with my routine, working out, dressing well, dating, and sharing snippets of my life on social media. The likes and comments kept rolling in, which only fueled my confidence. Yet, each time I saw Lisa at home, I felt a stir of emotions I couldn't quite place. Was I really moving on, or was I just masking my hurt? Then came the day that would change everything. I was out for drinks with Ryan and Samantha when my phone buzzed with a message. It was from Lisa. My heart raced as I opened the text, unsure of what to expect. "Can we talk? I need to discuss something important, please." I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I wasn't ready for another confrontation, but something about her message felt urgent. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her the next day. The following afternoon, we met at a small cafe, a place that held memories of happier times. I walked in, my heart pounding, and saw Lisa sitting at a table, her expression serious. "Thank you for coming," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I've been doing a lot of thinking." "About what?" I asked, trying to keep my demeanor neutral even though I felt a surge of anxiety. She took a deep breath. "About us. About what happened. I know I messed up, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this right. I want to go to couples therapy, Jake. I think we need help." My mind raced. Couples therapy? Did she really think that was the solution to everything? "And what about Ryder? Are you still with him?" I challenged. I ended it. I realized I was just looking for excitement, a way to escape. "But I see now that I was running from us, from our marriage," she replied earnestly. My heart felt heavy with conflicting emotions. I wanted to believe her, but the betrayal still stung. "You can't expect me to just forget what happened," I said, my voice steady but hurt. "I know, and I'm not asking you to forget, but I'm asking for a chance to show you that I can change. I miss you, Jake. I miss our life together," she said, her eyes pleading. The thought of going back to what we had felt both comforting and terrifying. I wanted to believe that people could change, but could I really trust her again? I sat there in silence, weighing my options. After what felt like an eternity, I finally spoke. "I need time to think about it, Lisa. I'm not ready to jump back into anything. I've been working hard on myself, and I don't want to go back to being the person I was before." Her face fell, but she nodded in understanding. "I get it. Just please think about it. I'll give you space." As I left the cafe, my mind was racing. Could I really give her another chance? Or was I just setting myself up for more heartache? I had regained my confidence, my sense of self, but at what cost? Would going back to therapy mean I'd be losing the independence I had fought so hard for? I needed clarity on what I truly wanted. It was time to take stock of my feelings and make a decision that would shape not only my future, but also the future of my marriage. But as I began to contemplate my next move, I had no idea that Lisa had one final trick up her sleeve, one that would shake the very foundation of what I thought I knew. The days following my conversation with Lisa were a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. I oscillated between anger, sadness, and fleeting glimpses of hope. I had rebuilt my life, embracing this new version of myself, but the thought of potentially reconnecting with Lisa loomed over me like a dark cloud. I spent time reflecting on my feelings, weighing the pros and cons of her proposal for therapy. While part of me wanted to give our relationship another chance, after all, we had 7 years of history, I had to wonder if it was worth the risk. The betrayal lingered in my mind, a constant reminder of the pain she'd caused. Then came the day that would change everything. I was out with Samantha again, enjoying a casual dinner. We were laughing and sharing stories when my phone buzzed with a notification, a photo from Lisa on social media. It was a picture of her with Ryder, both of them smiling, with her leaning into him as if they were the perfect couple. My heart dropped. I felt the familiar wave of anger rise within me. How could she? After everything we discussed, after she had professed her desire to make things right. I could hardly process it as I stared at the screen, my emotions swirling. Samantha noticed my sudden change in demeanor and reached for my hand. "Jake, what's wrong?" she asked. Concern etched on her face. I showed her the photo, and her eyes widened. "Wow, that's unexpected," she said, her voice trailing off. Yeah, unexpected is one way to put it, I replied, trying to keep my composure. I thought she wanted to make things right. I thought she was serious about therapy. Maybe she's not ready to let go of him. You deserve better than this, Jake, Samantha said, her tone firm. I felt a rush of clarity. I had been giving Lisa too much power over my emotions, and it was time to reclaim my narrative fully. I excused myself from the table, saying I needed a moment to think. I stepped outside the restaurant, my heart racing. The cool night air hit my face, grounding me as I took a deep breath. I pulled out my phone and sent Lisa a message. We need to talk, now. Within minutes, I received a response. Okay, can you meet me at the cafe? I arrived at the cafe, my heart pounding. I was determined to confront her about the post and lay it all on the table. When Lisa walked in, looking anxious, my resolve only strengthened. Jake, I'm glad you came, she said, her expression a mix of relief and uncertainty. Let's cut to the chase, Lisa, I said, my voice steady. I saw the picture with Ryder. I thought we were past this. Her expression shifted from relief to defensiveness. It's not what it looks like. I told you he's just a colleague. We were at a work event and I'm trying to navigate this whole mess. Navigate? You mean you're trying to keep your options open while you play both sides? You can't have it both ways, I snapped, feeling the anger rise in me again. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to say. I thought we could figure things out, she started. Figure things out? You've had your chance, Lisa. I want someone who values me, not someone who treats me like I'm an option. I interrupted, the intensity rising in my voice. As the confrontation unfolded, I could see her visibly shaken. But I wasn't there to comfort her. I was there to make a statement. I've invested too much into my growth to go back to the person I was. While you were off doing whatever you wanted, I continued. You don't get to drag me through this again. Her face fell and I could see the realization settling in. Jake, please. I didn't mean to hurt you, she pleaded, her voice cracking. Honestly, I don't know if you ever really cared, I replied, my heart heavy. I've been working hard to rebuild my life and I deserve someone who appreciates that. If you want to be with Ryder, then go ahead. I'm done chasing after memories of what we had. With that, I turned to leave, and I felt the weight of the past lifting off my shoulders. It was liberating. I had finally taken control of my narrative, and I was done living in someone else's shadow. Over the next few weeks, I focused on myself. I continued dating and enjoying the freedom that came with being single. I was meeting new people, exploring new interests, and rediscovering who I was outside of my relationship with Lisa. I made it a point to surround myself with supportive friends like Ryan and Samantha, who encouraged my growth. As I built my new life, I began to find peace with the choices I had made. I realized I had emerged stronger from the experience. I had learned the importance of self-worth and the power of moving on. I had faced heartache head-on and turned it into motivation to flourish. Eventually, I reached a place of acceptance regarding my relationship with Lisa. I understood that while the love we shared had once been real, it was now tainted by betrayal. I was grateful for the lessons learned, but I knew I was ready to close that chapter for good. Looking back, I could see how the experience had changed me. I was more resilient and self-aware than I had ever been. My path was clearer now, and I knew what I wanted in life and love. So to anyone out there facing similar struggles, don't let betrayal define you. Embrace your journey, invest in yourself, and never settle for less than you deserve. Life is too short to linger in pain when there's a whole world waiting for you to explore.